And then, yeah. And so then I started thinking about it and I started reading more. And I was like, okay, so it's your allied resources are the people that give you referrals, basically. And my big aha from that was that, you know, you cannot let the people who give you referrals know how crazy some of the people they send you are. You know, my husband had finally got him to get 2 people to refer him to me, and both of them were horrible transactions that never. I worked for months and months, and I never got paid ever. And it was just, well, because we couldn't get there. We couldn't get to close. We couldn't agree. They wouldn't take my advice. They went against what I would say. And so here I am with my husband. Oops. I'm not sure what's going on. And of course, you know, I'm crying. I'm bawling. I'm breaking down because I spent so much time trying to work with these people for just nothing, you know? And so he's like, oh, he was very hesitant after that. My ex-husband even referred somebody to me, and he told me right off the bat, people are lunatics. They're crazy. But, you know, I was at that point in my career where I wasn't willing to say no to anybody or any situation, you know, because if I didn't do it, somebody else would. And sure enough, he was right. So it's kind of one of those things. Anna, what, like when you're in that type of a situation, you have to be able to read people in order to say no, you know? And it's hard to say no because, especially when you're trying to get your business off the ground, you know, because you want that business. Every lead is a good lead if it could lead to a closing, but you never know, you know? So that was my big aha.
Am I sideways?
Yes, you are sideways.
I don't know why. Hold on.
I'm gonna hang up the phone, okay, Anna?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard any of that.
I did. So here's what I'm going to say. We're starting on page 119, right?
128.
Okay, hold on a second.
Well, 117
is where we left off.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you that I'm starting on page 119, the science of success. And we're in the part where you earn the money. So you've already thought about how to make the money, and now you're in the earn stage. And if you look at page 119, listings, leads, and leverage, or you could say leads, listings, and leverage, that is the foundation of our business. And there's I'll go over that many times. Which problem do you have? And now we're in the earn the money, and we're getting into the models. And if you guys can just slow down and recognize what the models are. So on page 122, the 4 models of the real estate business, that's the foundation of everything. You guys go on page 122, you with me?
Yeah.
So there's the economic model, the lead gen model, budget model, and organizational model. This is really what the whole book is. And if you look on page 123, it'll give you some, you know, what does the different models mean. So on for example, on lead generation model, they have a database of 960. I've met those people. 960 sphere of influence, 960, you know, people that we could ninja with. That's the millionaire real estate agent, okay? So always I say how many people in your database, this is why. And then on the budget model, it gives you the percentages of how much should you spend. Do you see number 2 under the budget model on page 123? Who sees that?
Number 2, the lead generation.
What does that say?
Lead generation, 9.2%.
So how much should you be spending on lead generation?
5%.
Right, Grayling. So it's, you know, you can say 10% if you want, but let's say you had a commission check in your pocket and you had, I don't know, $4,500 that you made. You should spend $450 back on your business on lead generation. It's just that simple. If you'll keep it at 10%, you'll, at the end of the year, have a profit. And so Gary says that over and over and over. And then if you've been in bold, page 125 is about building your foundations, right? About getting creative after you have your foundations, set. And so on 129 is your economic model. There's some very key, simple numbers in the economic model. I think this is the one that the agents don't, and I myself also, it took a while for me to really get it. And yet it's really simple and clear on focus on listings, focus on appointments. How many appointments did you go on this week? If you had an accountability partner, and I did this for myself, and it really was a gift to me that I found a good accountability partner. And then I would say, what do you want to be accountable for? And we wanted to be accountable for how many houses we sold. We'll go past that. How many appointments did you go on? Because that's what we call the lead indicator. So every week we report it in. And then I do this as a team leader now as well. How many appointments did you go on? Because then you'll know later what happens if you go on appointments.
You should get listings.
You get listings, you get buyers, you have house sales, right? What happens if you go on no appointments? Not much, right? So on page, whatever that is, 131, on your conversion rate, it's in here. Gary tells us how to figure it. If you're a brand new agent or haven't sold a lot of houses, what I find is that your conversion rate will stay around the same as the book. It will flip if it's a buyer or seller market. And at the same time, if you know how many appointments you need to sell the houses, to hit your goal, and you just go on appointments. Like I'll tell you, for me, for years, I would say if I go on 2 appointments a week, I will live the life of my dreams. And so every week did I go on 2. And the weeks that I did go on 2, I was happy. The weeks that I went on 0, I was unhappy. And what I mean by unhappy is that I just knew that I wasn't going to have the house sales I wanted. So you see on number 131, focus on appointments. Yes and yes and yes.
I'm sorry, Anna, what you were kind of blurry there at the beginning. What did you say?
On page 131.
Yeah.
Just open an appointment.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that we're there.
You guys following that?
Yeah, did you ask us a question just now?
Yeah, I said just the focus on appointments.
Okay.
So what are you focusing on?
Appointment.
Then on 132, focusing on conversions. Well, if you go on appointments, let's say that you just said after this call, I want to go on 2 appointments a week. Now that sounds easy and it isn't easy. And let's say you were able to do that. Then you could focus on out of 2, how many clients did I get? How many closings did I have? You can focus on your conversion rates, but you have to have the appointments first to determine your conversion rate. Right?
Correct.
What other ahas does anyone have?
Anna, in bold, whoa, not in bold. No, somewhere recently, we were talking about conversion rates and I don't know, is there a standard, like, is it, or something that you want to shoot for? 20% is realistic, or?
Well, it depends on your skill set, but it'll be here in the book. We'll show you that here in a second, or I'm not exactly sure which page, but I can easily turn to that. So we don't have to guess because we study it.
Yeah.
So for example, say you go on a listing appointment and you've never been on one before, and then somebody like Bruce Sellers is coming in after you. Well, his conversion rate of a listing appointment is probably pretty high.
Yeah.
Because he has a great skill set, a great presentation, credibility, all of that.
Yeah.
You might not get that appointment, or it might be, someone in your family and you are going to get it.
Yeah.
Well, only you can tell what your conversion rate is because you track it. But typically in a seller's market or a buyer's market, you can plan on around 85% of the time you'll get the listing when you go. Because people statistically only call 1 or 2 agents.
Yeah.
Oftentimes only 1. So you should have a high conversion rate, but you have to track it over time.
So we need to be paying attention and keeping record of
How many
how our
appointments?
Yeah.
It's the four conversations. How many appointments did I go on this week?
Gross, net, and what was my profit?
And for me, I had a lot of weeks where it was a 0, honestly. But I wanted to go on 2 a week, but what I really knew is if I a minimum had to go on 2 a month. So if you didn't go on 2 a month, then I just knew I wasn't going to be able to feed my family.
Mm-hmm.
You have to set your own numbers for your own business. But going on appointments is, if you're not going on appointments, something isn't you've got a lead problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then on 134, he starts talking about positioning yourself in the client's mind. And here's where he says, play the numbers game. So you, on 136, prospect and market. So this is where Rhonda started talking about the allied resources aha. On page 137, if I had my camera on, I'd be using my fingers here to make a little target, because you go from, on the outside of that, I've never met them. I don't know them. So therefore, my conversion rate with them is going to be really low. So say I had a billboard and they were driving by. That would be a targeted market, but yet I haven't met them. And then as they say they called me and asked me for information, then I still haven't met them, but somehow I've had some contact with them. And you're always drawing them into the, I have met them. That's where you see that down there where it says 8x8 and 33 touch. You guys with me on page 137?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So that is where, now I've met you, now I'm going to stay in contact with you. The I haven't met you, they don't want to be bombarded by spam emails, right? So you can send marketing to I haven't met you. It could be a postcard, it could be a billboard, it could be lots of things, it could be a Facebook ad. But once I've met you, I need to go into a purposeful, what do I want to say, Rhonda? Purposeful communication with you.
Right, intentional, yeah.
Until you become an allied resource, you're a raving fan, you would never do any business with anyone else. You would tell every friend of yours that you've ever met to call me.
Well, and I think an important thing that might come into, well, that does come into play when you get to that MET group and you want to be making those intentional communications is you want to come from contribution with these people. You know, what value can you bring them? Even if it's not monetary, you know, a discussion about the market or talking to them or sending them, you know, a CMA, neighborhood snapshot, whatever. But when you've got those people in that inner target, that second inner target, if you start coming from a place of contribution, people will pick up on that more than they're going to pick up on you're just pitching to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, and I think that's one of the great things about Keller Williams is because, you know, all of the bold classes that I've taken and just everything that I've experienced since I've been here, because I was with 2 other firms before, that's huge. That's huge. I think if we can keep that, you know, in like the forefront of what we're trying to do, come from contribution, then, you know, you're putting good out there. It's going to come back to you, but it's different. It's a different way of doing things. Not everybody does it that way. Some people just want to sell and they just want to pitch and they just want to push. So I think that's really an important thing to remember when you're getting to that second inner circle of the target, you know, the METs. And then those people become your allied resources.
So you have your METs and your not METs. And as you go to page 138, where the difference between prospecting and marketing, who has some insight on the difference between prospecting and marketing?
I had one last night, didn't I, Anna? Didn't I text you? Let me see. Oh, I'm not sure where I wrote it down. Oh, no, I didn't write it down.
Isn't prospecting more like a face-to-face or versus marketing is they don't really know you, just not met yet?
So when you think about prospecting versus marketing, like if we did a training on how to lead generate, your prospecting is where you pick up the phone and call them. Your prospecting is you they're not coming to you, you're going to them. Your marketing, think of it this way, your marketing is like a postcard, a billboard, a radio ad. You guys see on page 138, it says advertising, internet websites, direct mail, signs, like your sign in the yard is a form of marketing. Then if you were to call someone in the neighborhood, that would be prospecting. So the difference is proactive and indirect, he says, but that's like, I kind of think about it as marketing we pay for.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
marketing,
prospecting, like say you are at an open house.
prospecting
That's
is
where
a
you're
little bit
meeting them.
more, it's a little more uncomfortable. Those activities in prospecting are what I at least would consider a little more uncomfortable. They put me outside of my comfort zone because you do have to call those FSBOs. Yes, you have to get in front of people. You have to call those for sale by owners. And marketing, you're just spreading your name around and getting exposure indirectly with, like you said, monetary, you're spending money on that.
Well, and what Gary says over and over for us is to be prospecting based, marketing enhanced. So if you've never heard those words, that's a big aha, is I'm prospecting based. In other words, I lead generate every day. I call my sphere of influence. And then marketing enhanced, I'm sending them a postcard, or I've got some other form of what I'm paying for, like a Facebook ad. But by prospecting means that I'm actually, it's coming from me to them, some sort of communication. And just, I think of it as prospecting is what could I do right now today to go get a lead, and it's not a lead receiving like I have a billboard on 105.
Hey,
That's
Anna,
marketing. That's marketing.
Can you go back just a little bit and repeat what you were saying about
What Gary says.
what Gary said? Prospecting based, marketing enhanced. And you think about the prospecting, if you look at this list of things, these are things that are personal communications, and you're setting yourself in that person's mind with who you are, and then you enhance that with reminding them, right, through marketing. But finding or following this, that's the key. You know what I mean?
Well, just look at the top of page 138. Let's briefly walk through this strategic model. The general public is just that, the people out there whom you've not met and don't know you. You'll use a large variety of prospecting. You find them. You get that? You find them.
Mm-hmm.
And marketing, you attract them and they find you. Sources to generate leads in this category. In our experience, there are 2 broad prospecting categories and 11 broad marketing categories. So he's basically talking the difference between prospecting and marketing. And over, he'll tell us always to this day, be prospecting based, marketing enhanced. And he'll talk about leading with revenue and your budget. If you have a 10% budget for your lead generation, with your 10%, you can send the people you know, for example, a newsletter, a postcard, something like that. That's within your 10% of your money. But your prospecting is you actually communicating, giving them a call, having an open house. So being prospecting based in your business, let's say I was wealthy and I didn't even need money, but I wanted to sell a bunch of houses. I could throw a whole lot of money a lot of places, right?
Yeah.
And that would be marketing, and it still would never outwin the prospecting of communicating individually from yourself to someone else.
Anna, what do you know if there's like a specific ratio that you can recommend for prospecting to marketing? Is there?
Well, you have a 10% budget on your gross income.
Mm-hmm. But your prospecting is like your sweat equity.
So that's in the budget model, your lead gen category is 10%. So if you made a $6,000 commission, you paid your broker, and you had, say, $400, you're perfectly fine to spend that. You got to consistently make that money so that you know that you have a certain amount of money. But you spend 10%, 10%, 10%, whether you sell 1 house or 1,000 houses. The ratios don't change on your marketing budget is 10% of your gross income.
Right, but your prospecting is you're actually physically actively doing things, not paying for things to be done. As far as people to see you and find you, you're finding people. So which you know,
How to split.
how do you split that? Like your focus, you know, do you spend, you know, like 20%, we talk about 20% of your business or 80% of your business is your database, working on your database. What would the percentage be, or the ratio to from prospecting to marketing be outside of that 10% that you're spending?
Well, what Gary teaches us is that for every 12 people you know, you'll sell 2 houses. So focusing on the people you know, right, your Mets compared to your not Mets.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go through this part of the book, he'll explain it. So on how page should we go to here?
What's that?
What page did we end on?
We're on
172.
the very last of the section was 172.
Okay, so let me just kind of take you through, since we only have 30 minutes and this is stuff we can dig deep on. But as you go through on page 142, set up a database and feed it. You guys ever heard that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then on page 143, he talks about the Mets and the not Mets. If I have met you, I'm going to put you on an 8x8 to build a relationship. What's the key word there?
Build a relationship.
And a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to put you on a 33 touch. What does that mean? Now we've even said it's really more than that. It's 36 touches. If I contacted you 36 times in a year, how often would that be?
A couple times a month.
It'd be 3 times a month.
Mm-hmm.
And that cycle goes on and on and on. And on the right hand side of the page, it says, if I have not met you, then I'm going to contact you into my database 12 times a month because I don't know you yet. So that's where we say an 8x8 or a 12x12. And on page 145, he goes deeper into this, that the systematically marketing to your database, 8x8, 33 touch, 12 direct. So he gives an example of an 8x8. I find that you guys sometimes get confused. I get confused. What is an 8x8? It's explained on page 146. Your 33 touch, like this is a core part of the book, you guys. And if you look at like Ninja or so many other recommended systems, it's really the same idea, is to contact someone and stay in touch with them and be in flow with them and purposefully communicate with them. So contacting someone 3 times a month, sometimes our drunk monkeys will say, oh yeah, that's too much. Well, it isn't too much if you're bringing value. It isn't too much if you have a relationship. And it isn't too much when they suddenly decide to buy a house or sell a house, they think of you. So this part of the book is really the foundation of some of your systems. Page 146 has the 8x8, 147 has the 33 touch, page 148 talks about the 12 direct, newsletters usually is what that one is. We're doing some of that on command and we'll be showing you how that works. The focus on seller listings, Gary breaks that down. How much do you want to make per year? How many listings do you need? This is not what he makes up. He's proven it by studying it. Your marketing plan for your listings. So what you really are in is the 4 models of the real estate agent. And if you go through the lead gen model, the budget model, somebody said to me yesterday, it's that red light thing. And I said, yes, it's red light, green light. That's from Millionaire Real Estate Agent, page 155. How much money can I spend? I love going over, and I'm not even a numbers person, page 157 on the budget model where it explains what you're spending money on. If you go into a person who's a business owner, a business person, which you are all striving to be, I can say, what is your profit and loss? If you guys look on page 157, the lead generation category, what does it say? 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. I have never heard Gary change that number. You guys have 10% of your gross income to spend. Bottom line. You want to spend some money, and I don't know who you're thinking about spending money with, and somebody calls you and said, hey, I've got a great thing to spend money on. I might say something like, well, my budget model, I have 10% to spend, and I'm sorry, I've already spent that this month or this year.
Well, we need to wrap it up for Ninja, Anna. So
Yes.
Do you want to just send out a follow-up email to everybody that's here, or just everybody with the next section that you want us to focus on, or do you want to maybe pick up on this one a little bit more And
No, we'll send the next reading, and you guys, I know this one is a little bit deeper. This is the more meat in this part of the book than you've had on the last few sessions. So I challenge you to go back and read it again and really interpret the 4 models, as then we'll go deep into what they are. And we'll do that next week. And I'll send out the pages.
okay, sounds good.
Okay, have a great day, guys.
Hope you feel better, Anna.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about prospecting and marketing for just a second before we start measuring. All right, so tell me why, or tell me what time in your career prospecting is appropriate. All the time.